good afternoon and welcome to the last session of the day. So I fear I'm keeping everyone from their apéro, but anyway, we'll go on. We are going to talk about whether maintenance will be the bottleneck in the growth of air transport, and we have a fantastic panel. I shall let them introduce themselves because they will do a better job than I will.
Hello. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Carlos NAUFEL. I'm the president and CEO of Embraer Service and Support, dealing with the MRO, parts, training, and all that stuff on the aftermarket.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chris Greaves. I'm SVP of Customer for Global Operations, so deploying our services off-wing and on-wing out to our global customer base.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stéphane. I'm CEO of Safran Aircraft Engines.
Good afternoon. William AMPOFO. I'm Senior Vice President of our Parts and Distribution Services business and supply chain within Boeing Global Services. First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge the incident that happened yesterday. And on behalf of the Boeing company and our CEO, Kelly Ortberg, I wanted to extend and express our condolences to the passengers, the crew, the loved ones of the passengers and crews, and also the civilians that are on the ground there in Ahmedabad. We have been in touch with the chairman of Air India, and we remain on standby to help with the investigation process to the extent that we're being brought into that. So I did want to start today's session by extending those condolences on behalf of the Boeing company.
Thank you for those comments. So to get to the meat of the issue, over the past year or so, we've seen many airlines slowing their growth plans. And how much of that has been caused by a lack of maintenance capacity? If you want to kick off, Carlos?
Yeah, I can start. For the Embraer world, I would say we are not seeing that. And even for the future, like we see if maintenance will be a bottleneck, we don't think so. Mainly because of the main, let's say, strategy that we have. We have a little different strategy from the other OEMs, what we call a mixed solution. Like of course, we have the network, where we have authorized network of service providers for maintenance on the airframe side. And also we do part of the network. So we have 12 different own MROs that we are touching the metal and understanding what is going on that. So, and we have been successfully to expand that network. Like just giving some examples, last year we doubled the capacity for the executive defense in the US in a single year. Using different concepts, different models, we could double the capacity there for the booming market of the executive aviation. The same is happening on the commercial aviation, where we are launching our own services centers and also authorizing several different partners on that. So we are very positive on that.
So you feel that you're ahead of the curve almost? Your investments are designed to protect you for the future?
That's what we are doing. Like it's planning in advance. As much as proactive we can be on that, easier it will be in the future.
Chris, are you seeing problems with maintenance as well, in terms of capacity, perhaps?
So in terms of Rolls-Royce, we have got a global network at present. Over the last 12 months, we've invested significantly in the network. So we've bought 3 facilities on in the last 12 months alone. And that's 55 million of spend across 2 wholly owned facilities. And we've bought a 3rd one where we've repurposed our OE capability in Singapore to bring on more MRO capability. So we've been actively investing in the last 12 months. And as Carlos said, over the medium and long term, we're continuing to invest, and significant investments coming to stay ahead of that curve in the future, which I think is really important.
Is that position you're taking as well, Stéphane?
Yeah, I don't think it's the bottleneck today, but we have to work on it because we see a high rate of utilization of the aircraft, including the previous generations, like CFM56. They are flying a lot. Plus a rapid expansion of the LEAP engine for us, which means that we have to invest. So we announced on the Safran side 1 billion of investment in new capacities for MRO. And we have to increase year on year 50% the output for our LEAP engine. So it's a challenge, but it's not the bottleneck at the moment. The challenges are more in the supply chain globally over OE and spare parts, but OE is probably more challenging.
How much does the growth in maintenance capacity have to match the growth in the new engines coming out of the factory?
In fact, it's not immediately, there is a lead time between the entrance into service and the first shop visits. So what we are seeing today is engines who are either of former generation entering their first shop visit or second shop visit. And for LEAP, we are starting to enter in a wave of shop visits. And you need to remember that the LEAP engine fleet is growing twice as fast as CFM56. So we have already 4,000 airplanes flying with LEAP and trying to service 216. So that's why now MRO has to grow, hence the investment in own capacity, but also in developing the external network.
And is it growing fast enough?
Yeah, it is. It's challenging, but we're on it.
I guess it's a different perspective from the parts and distribution side of the business.
Well, I wouldn't say it's all too different. I would have to agree. Capacity is a driver. I think the supply chain and the health of the supply chain is more so a driver. Within Boeing, dealing with both commercial and defense platforms, we've taken the position, we've made significant investment in our MRO capability. In Jacksonville last year alone, we invested in a 400,000 square foot new facility to help with MRO activity as well as component exchange programs. So that, we got out ahead of that. So that's something that we're doubling down on. I would say there's other factors that are coming into play as well. On the commercial side, the business models for some of the airlines are changing, as we all read. There's also the push for some in-house external utilization of MRO, and then the labor workforce, right? I think that's really something that's, coming back from the exogenous shock of COVID, a lot of talent has left the industry. And so we're trying to retool that across all of both the OEMs as well as the aftermarket service providers. And I think that's more of an encumbrance to the growth that has reemerged than anything, in my opinion.
How have you been tackling that shortage of skilled labor?
Artfully, right? It's the types of skilled, if you look at the industry, I've been in this 30 years, and from the day I got out of college, we were already saying, hey, there's a lot of retirement eligible people, right? And then I think COVID accelerated that. So we didn't have the time to properly do knowledge transfer, right? So you lost a big talent base. So we're now trying to partner with universities, technical affiliations, local governments to make sure that we're generating a pipeline and attracting them to aerospace. I think we've got a pretty cool industry. We do some fantastic things, and now we're trying to ensure that we're developing that next generation of talent to service the growth that's, as far as we could see. And the younger generation, a lot of them, they're doing gaming, they're doing software, they're doing different things. And so we're trying to, in a creative way, articulate and convey the value of our industry. So it's something that's going to take some time. But the growth is there, and it's exciting times. So we just got to make sure that we're getting the talent curve in conjunction with the growth that we're experiencing.
Yeah, just adding to that, similar to what you said, we see that we need to motivate and also be part of the different programs. We launched it down in Brazil, and we're expanding what we call GIFT, Guiding Inspiring Future Technicians, on that, and then we are creating this program to help, to leverage, and to form people. And talking with airlines, it's amazing and shocking when you go to different communities, neighborhoods, and we started to pitch about aviation. There's a need, there's a demand for that, and then you see that a lot of people, they don't know it's a promising career and that they can be in, because sometimes people believe it's too complex, or what I need to do to get there, right? And then doing that business of going there to communities and then in US and other regions, we are seeing a lot of interest on that. So we need to motivate that.
Is that the same for you, Chris?
Absolutely, especially on the new skills and early development. So we look at it for a longevity of a network as we're going forward, because we need to look at the midterm and then the long term as we grow and increase that capability and capacity around the network. So the key for us, one of the key ones, is the early career network. So that's schools, colleges, universities, apprenticeships, really. So at the moment, Rolls-Royce has 1,500 people of that early career network working, either graduates, interns, or apprentices in the business at the moment. But then when we look to September this year, we're bringing another 1,000 on top of that. So that's how we're scaling up to grow that early career network. But you can't just do that. That's great for longevity and skills. It takes time to develop. So we've had two approaches too alongside that. One which we call switch, which is people who have been in careers already, been either teachers or butchers or anything, and then really they're excited by the aviation industry, like you were talking about, and looking at them to change careers. And we're offering a mid-career apprenticeship to come into the business, which is important. And then thirdly, on top of that, then there's an aspect you have to bring skilled people in now. So we're going out with novel techniques to go and do that. And in the last 6 months, 12 months alone, we've had another 100 highly skilled people join us in UK, and we've got another 100 coming in Germany by the end of this year. So you've got to kind of take a multi-pronged attack to your near, medium and future term. And
is that multi-pronged approach working for you as well, Stéphane?
Yes, just to complement one challenge with MRO, so to give you figures, in 2023 we hired 1,000 people for the MRO network expansion. And as we are growing fast, the challenge is to have those people qualified to deliver and service an engine. So you need to make sure that you have a pass rate which is high, so one person in, one person out on the line, and to reduce the lead time without sacrificing the quality, because at the end of the day, it's what is paramount, safety. So we somehow industrialized, through what we call industrial schools, the training, so that we can accelerate the induction into the actual work of people we hire. And this is extremely important, given that we are ramping up 50% per year.
You mentioned the balance between in-house maintenance and third-party. How do you decide that balance, and what do you look for in a third-party provider?
That's interesting. So if I take CFM56, which is the largest fleet today, we have around 25% or 30% of the maintenance performed in by CFM. Currently on LEAP, we are at 85%. And the reason is with those new technologies and new engines, airlines were initially looking for insurance, OEM maintenance, and rate per the hour contracts. Now we are entering the maturity of the product, and just to quote a figure, we are going to reach a plateau of 5,000 shop visits a year, which is twice as much as CFM56. And so the target is to move to 30% of external network servicing the engines by 2030 and a balanced 50-50 by 2040. In order to do that, we need to have a network of preferred MRO suppliers, and we have 6 ones called the Premier MRO who are already operating and winning contracts.
How many more do you need?
At the moment, we should be stable with this number. We need to really develop. And obviously, they won't be the only one on the markets. We have airlines who want to invest in their own MRO, and it's a new trend, I would say. But clearly, you may have heard some announcements, so it's clearly coming. It's going to help. And also other third-party MROs who don't have the Premier label, but who are going to compete on the market and are going to give capacity. So it's not just the 6, but the 6 are the core to really expand the network.
And how do you identify those? What makes a good partner in this situation?
You want operational excellence and people who are very well recognized on the market. So we have big names, and you need also to have a coverage, a geographical coverage of the world. And so we have people from North America, Asia, Europe to cover the full market.
Chris, do you want to chip in on that as well?
Yeah, it's very, very similar as you'd expect, but we've got the same three-pronged solution really when you look at it. So we've both got our wholly owned capability, which is key, like you say, the learning of your products, and also having a knowledge base across the network to feed across the network and be able to support the network. So that's really cool when you've got your early introduction, but also as you develop solutions and want to feed it out the network for increased efficiencies. Then we've got the JVs, which you rightly said, partnering with key customers worldwide, because we want a network that can serve both regionally for those regional customers and for the customers themselves. And you're right in saying choosing the right customers, the quality, the workmanship and the collaborations there. And thirdly, then it's the wholly owned shops. So having independent shops we can grow. And that also does two things. It allows us flexibility across the network because we can max and scale that network. And it also means we can also grow with pace. Because as you said at the start, we need to grow to support the growing demands of our customers. So that network and independent shops and JVs allows us to scale, allows us to invest with our partners.
Yeah. If I can add, like, I see more and more also the engines OEMs also collaborating with the airframe manufacturers. Like at Embraer, we have Ogma in Portugal, right, which is the agnostic branch of Embraer. So it's a 106 years company and 20 years doing overhauls on engines from Rolls. Thank you for that. Last year, we got a prize of quality about the network there, so we are doing a good job there. And we started this year with the GTF there also, with helping on the Airbus aircraft, on the agnostic branch on that. So we see more and more collaborating when the network demands, and then it's a matter of finding the right partners and expand that.
Feels like you're slightly unusual in having your own in-house MRO capability that also does third party.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's unusual sometimes, like on the defense, we have the KC, but we do the C-130, we do overhauls there, so we see there's no problem, you know. Like MRO business is MRO business, we just need to do it with the right quality, right on time, and then if we see opportunities for that, we think it's worth.
You've all touched on it a little bit, but the supply chain disruption we've seen persisting since COVID, is that easing, and how far have you had to go into the supply chain to try and solve some of the problems? I don't know who wants to take that one first.
Is it easing? I think we're making progress. I will say that. We're not out of the woods by any means. Again, the pandemic kind of, this shock to the system kind of left us a little bit flat-footed. Not necessarily us, but a lot of our suppliers, quite frankly. They were undercapitalized. They lost the talent. So that's just kind of current state of affairs. But what are we doing, right? So we've obviously had to get a lot more proactive, provide a little bit of oversight, or a lot more oversight. You know, we've got over 250 or so what we call global field operations support forward deployed at our suppliers to help them, not just the typical parts chasers, right? It's technical support, right? You know, interpretation of drawings and things of that nature. So we're doing that. It's really about recovery and stabilizing right now. Looking at alternate sources, right? So how do you stand up alternate sources? In some cases, you're sole source because of intellectual property, but where you have the opportunity to develop alternate sourcing, we're looking at that as well. And unfortunately, some of the tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers were financially strapped. So we've had to invest in them, right? And true partnership and collaboration to make sure that they're successful. Because if they're not successful, we're not successful. So I would say we're probably a few years out from getting back to pre-pandemic levels, just by virtue of the heavy lift that's required. But I think we're seeing a lot more collaboration, as it should be, between the OEMs and the suppliers and that true partnership.
Has that investment been for working capital or for inventory, or I don't know.
All of the above, right? So in some cases, it's CapEx. In other cases, it's dealing with their sub-tier suppliers, right? So making sure that they're able to pay the bills to get the sources of supply in, qualifying alternate sources. In some cases, we're the owner of the drawing, and we have to help them qualify alternate sources, getting back to your earlier point about capacity. So it's all of the above, different colors of money around across the board, but we recognize that it's required right now. And we've, at the Boeing company, we've taken a strategic approach to make sure that we're allocating not only the human capital to do it and by way of engineering, technical support, but also the financial wherewithal to help these suppliers out.
If I remember from listening to several results calls from Safran, you've also had to go quite deep into your supply chain from time to time.
Yes, but the first thing is we have to design a supply chain for resilience. And as we had initially a huge success with the LEAP engine, we knew we had a massive ramp up to do. So we started by having double source on every component. Today, we are operating around 2,000 engines to produce for just the airframers and spare engines. On top of that, you have spare parts. So that means that for some parts, the volume is much higher. So we go to triple source. We anticipate the issues of our smaller suppliers. A key action is to take control of the raw material in many cases. So it costs in some of inventory, but you make sure that you have an aggregated view of the need and there is no misfit. And finally, in some cases where there are shortages of capacity worldwide, we are making capital investment. To give a recent one, we announced in Belgium a new factory, state-of-the-art, to produce compressor blades, because there are good suppliers around, but there is clearly a shortage of capacity in this area. Another example is we have a new plant to produce turbine airfoil in France, announced in Rennes. And this is, again, because we have too few suppliers in those areas. So it's a mix of everything. But the key thing is we are in a world where we need to have resilience, and at high volume, we need to have at least two sources, in several cases, three.
Is there one area in particular that's shown weakness, or is it a case of you fix one problem, then another one crops up?
I mean, there is an element of that for the weaknesses of smaller suppliers, but we tend to have a global picture of our commodities and to have a kind of architecture of what we need going forward and looking at the shortages. So there is a tactical element, as we said, okay, being we field engineers anticipating monitoring capacity, and there is a midterm action. In 2 years, in 1 year, what do I need to do when I look at the quantities and what I see of the capacities available? And we do that systematically for every commodity.
Yeah, we do. We have a similar approach, but what I would say is that given the geopolitical landscape, we've had a couple of incidents where there were sanctions, so we've had to pivot very quickly, especially in the raw material area, right? So sources of, castings, forgings, other raw material, titanium, things of that nature, where it's long lead, and to stand up a qualified alternate source takes some time. So those are things that we've gone after immediately, and then machining capacity, which in particular for complex machining.
How are you finding the supply chain, Carlos?
Very similar to what was said here. Mainly, I was about to comment about tier 2 and 3 and exactly what's going on with Embraer, the same. Also, another element that I would add is the use of technology. That is helping a lot. Like we launched a program that we call digital repair, that we started to use AI tools and other tools to streamline the process of a repair of the components and so on, because we have several pool programs, parts pool programs, and then accelerating those cores to go back and forth, it's helping a lot. And then we could reduce about 30% just integrating all the OEMs and the suppliers, including the airlines on that. That is a big help. Also, when you have this kind of a crisis, let's say, that is getting better day by day, but this accelerates everything.
And Chris?
Yeah, obviously I agree with all these folks. On both sides, the supply chain is still a challenge, it's still fragile. Guillaume said it this morning in his speech, it's still a very VUCA world, both geopolitically, tariffs, conflicts, etc. And you've got to be able to be agile to that. So some of it is being able to react, so dedicated teams, being able to go out, and we have teams hands-on in suppliers now, but we're also working on the other side too. We've got 26 high-performing suppliers we work with to say, what do we need to go forward to change the way we work in the supply chain? And on the other two bits is we're scanning the horizon. So more than ever, probably COVID, financial distress you talked about, you've got to scan the horizon and get ahead of this, because we all know in our industry, you can't change parts like that. You can have dual and triple, but the volumes you're doing, so you need to have that early indication to do. And I agree with Carlos, we're investing significantly. We've doubled our repairs available. We're doubling our repair capability. We've got new advanced cells coming in the UK and Singapore to give us that resilience, as you said, to be able to say, we've got different options we can pull when we have this situation, both near term and as we bring our dual and three sources in place.
And as William said, do you see the disruption persisting for another 2-3 more years?
Yeah, so I think I agree with Bowen at the moment. We talk about a kind of 12 to 18 month landscape. That's what we see, that we remain fragile. But then, as we all know, and as we all look at the news every day, it continues to be an uncertain landscape. So we've got to keep on watching out. We've got to keep on forward. But the importance is building the resilience, and everybody talked about, because we can't rely on it. We've got to build the resilience to be able to be a resilient network to our customers.
Do you think that resilience is there? Because you probably thought it was beforehand, and then it wasn't.
I think there's two bits. Is you've got to build resilience into your supply chain and over-rotate on repairs capability, over-rotate on dual sourcing, etc., and time in suppliers and capability in suppliers. But you've also got to look at your MRO capability and the resilience in the MRO. And everybody that's talking now, and we're investing in the future, and we're investing to put resilience globally and have regional hubs too, that we can serve regional markets and have excess capacity in the market, because we need the efficiencies there in the MRO structure.
Is there any scope as well for more advanced manufacturing techniques, additive, for instance, to shorten some of these lead times on components, particularly some of the more complex castings or forgings?
Clearly, additive manufacturing is a solution to avoid casting where we have long lead time. The technology is developing, so I wouldn't say it's widely used, but clearly it's an area of investment. We have a dedicated center at Safran for that. Maybe I'm coming back to it, but what I would like to say is, on one side, you have the capacity. You have the supply chain, which is a challenge. As an OEM, a big part of the work is to reduce the workload. So, because we have capacity workload, so we have new engines. A lot of our efforts is to develop ways to keep our engines flying, avoiding shop visits. So that might be counterintuitive, because you say, okay, why would you do that? Because it's business. No, our job is to keep our customers flying and avoid to overload the network. So we extend criteria, we develop repairs, and we try to reduce the capacity. Once you've done that, any manufacturing 4.0 opportunity to improve the efficiency of the shops, or new technologies to add potential capacities to replace forging or manufacturing or casting, are welcome, and they are developing already.
I would say in my world, I deal primarily in the aftermarket, so it's slightly different, but we're using analytics and AI to get more predictive, right? So I run a series of, not just transactional spare parts, but also managed programs. So think landing gear exchange programs, component service programs, where you're looking at the reliability of certain components. Instead of looking rearward, how do we get ahead of it and get predictive to help our customers with respect to when are you going to take something off wing, you know, how many parts do you need, where do you need them, getting to the point around being local. You know, we've just opened up several warehouse distribution centers, one in Cologne last month. We've got several throughout the globe to just help be close to our customers, right? So to help facilitate that ease of doing business and be a valued partner. So I think there's a ton of opportunity from an AI perspective to get out ahead, as was talked about earlier, versus being rearward looking, especially when you have a constrained supply chain. So we're making those investments in the technology as well as in the inventory. You know, inventory is my biggest lever, right? So how do I buy more of it and then forward deploy it and position it where the customers can get at it as quickly as possible to avoid AOG situations and the like.
From what you were saying, Stéphane, time on wing is clearly important, an important part of that. Yeah. You're obviously doing efforts to improve the leap.
So it's improving the product technically. It's also being faster and better at giving the right decisions to make to the customer. So that's where monitoring the data from the fleet are key. Customer support center. You want the customer to have quick answers and relevant answers to make quick decisions to avoid removals. So we are using AI already to do that. Give them the ability to troubleshoot, use better the documentation, everything that can help to remove events before you have to go into the shop. And there is a huge potential here. We still have documentation in the industry, which is, okay, it's digital, but the mindset is paper. And in fact, AI, including Gen AI, is a huge chatbot. It has huge potential to have decision trees and just avoid unnecessary immobilization of the airplane.
Chris, you can probably talk about intelligent engines, I guess.
Yeah, it's a keynote now in what we do, and it's fundamental in terms of how we operate. So we're obviously continuing to invest. So engine health monitoring of our engines and increased analytics and AI capability to monitor the signatures on wing, which is absolutely key for predictive maintenance and preventative maintenance. So that's key for allowing our engines to go time on wing. On the same time as that there's intelligent capability in terms of inspecting the engines too, which reports back real time into Rolls-Royce. So we can look at both the analytical data coming through and the digital data from the aircraft, and then go physically look at the data and have the same AI algorithms that run against the physical inspections. So they're key for time on wing. And also, when you come into the shop, you've got more predictive work scoping as you come into the shop. You can look ahead. You can plan where you need those engines to go around the network to optimize that work scope. And we are spending, we've talked about, we spent £1 billion in investing in our products. Time on wing's critical. The Trent 1000, we were talking just before, Trent 1000, the service bulletins just were released. That will more than double time on wing for that platform, which is a game changer. And we're investing in the 84 with the EP program, the 97. So we've got product improvements in place, and then we're investing in digital capability to become more predictive on wing, and then more predictive when you come into the shop too, which are both equally important for our customers.
How much impact is that having in terms of the investment in the predictive capabilities?
It's having a big impact. I mean, when I look 20 odd years ago when we didn't have this to today, it's a game changer really. I mean, the amount of data we're now feeding into the system is mind-blowing. It's been able to compress that data and make intelligent solutions, which comes to the customer service centres, how we're supporting the airlines. But we are enabling and we're enhancing our time on wing for it. And our customers, we're becoming more predictive, which is really important. So I think it continues to be a game changer.
Are you getting positive feedback from the customers so far?
In terms of, so we're just going through, for instance, we're just deploying some more digital intelligent boroscoping equipment out to a number of our customers to bring that capability. And then at the same time, when they take it, instead of going through and looking at videos and still shots that's coming directly to Rolls-Royce, where we're AI looking at those blades and can feed back intelligence straight away and give them predictive solutions. So our customers can see that directly, and they're responding to it, which is great, and we're giving them more knowledge than they've had before. So real positive feedback.
Carlos, before we came on, we were talking about AI, so I know you've got an opinion on it.
Yes, like as I told before, like to me, technology, it's a key player to help us to boost efficiency and all of that. So we are using similarly like for inventories to look ahead of what we need to do it and what is the right demand in the right locations that we need to put at. In the MRO side also, we like I can give an example as our MRO in Nashville in the US. Like we have some line maintenance that we are doing a paperless journey, but not only paperless to remove the paper, but also analyzing all the tasks that we do. So imagine that during a heavy check, you do different tasks that require different manpower skills and also require different material and findings or no findings when you do an inspection on that. So we are crunching all that with some algorithms that we are developing there. And then we are able to predict, because we do several checks one after the other there, to have a good predictability about the manpower that I will require and also the parts that I will require on that. So that is helping us, again, to be in front of the problem and advance all the demands that we need prior to that to happen on that. So that it's helping a lot to be more efficient on that. So I think the key is how we can use more technology embedded in the aircraft or in the engines also with the predictive models, the prognostic, all that stuff, but also in the real day-by-day activities, how you can use that information and turn that to a meaningful insights for you to better plan what you need to do.
You're all from different parts of the industry. Is there a more integrated approach you can take, airframers talking to engine makers to alleviate some of these problems?
I think so, for sure. The more we collaborate, of course, each one has its specific business on that, but I see, as I mentioned, more and more collaboration on that to solve the problems of the aviation itself. Like there are pieces of information that won't hurt to share, but will help much more if we share or we have any kind of setup on that. So I truly believe on that, and that somehow we are sharing that data through the airlines or to the customers somehow, that will help to turn on a more sustainable business in the end of the day.
I agree with Carlos. I think in the past there's been reticence to share because it was viewed as a monetization play. I think as we become more transparent with one another around the value, right? People don't have a problem paying for value, right? And I think the conversation, meaningful conversations around how do we improve as a partner and make sure that the value is being delivered to the customer, the walls start to come down. We're in my business, we're starting to talk with airlines. We've got a new product called Parts Planning Hub. And what that is, it's sharing procurement data that they do, parts that they buy from Boeing, parts that they may not buy from us. And as they share that information, what I've discovered is if I could get that information and make sure I stock that part and provide a one-stop shop, they're gonna buy it, right? You know, price is a consideration, but availability is number one, right? So if I'm willing to make the investment and I understand what your demand and your needs are, share that information with us. And so we've released that. We don't charge for it. It's not monetized. It's just to show that there's value in the collaboration between us and our customers. So I think that's something that, to your point, Carlos, absolutely there could be more. It should be more, quite frankly. But I think we've got to be true and clear in our intent and why we're collaborating, what the value creation is going to be on both parties. What's preventing you sharing more data or more information? Well, I think data is king, right? So I think there's this notion that, you know, there's some data that's proprietary for sure. Let's not, we can't get beyond that. But I think there are pieces of data that can be shared and should be shared. And if we can demonstrate that, and it's steps, right? So we share this piece and it's protected and it creates value, then we could take it to the next level. So that's the approach that we've been focused on with an eye towards getting ahead of things. Because right now we're chasing our tails and trying to catch up.
Does a more integrated approach work for you as well, Stéphane?
Yes, and I think if you look back maybe 10 years ago, where data was the buzzword, a lot was about how can you make money with data. And I think if we are having this conversation with the customers, it's the wrong one, because the customers they are comfortable with sharing if you can show that you bring value, and that their ownership is protected, or they know what you do with it. And we see it as a tool to improve the efficiency of the service, and the efficiency of the service is business, but it's not monetizing the value or the tools, which is the essential discussion, is how do I help you if you share your data, and how do I protect your data so you're comfortable with that. So that is the key. And there are good examples, and I agree. Typically, I can tell to an airline, okay, if you share your data, I'm going to be able to anticipate the work scope and make sure that when I send your engine into a shop, the shop has the capability, because there is nothing worse than going into a shop. You open the engine, and then you realize that there is a work scope, and the shop is not qualified. Okay, I can anticipate the long lead items to make sure I have them in the shop where you go. So this is easy. And then I need to tell you what I'm not going to do with your data. Okay, so that's a matter of trust and finding the value for the customer and for us.
So you're nodding, Chris. It sounds like you might have a similar opinion.
Yeah, very similar, and I was resonating with his work scopes and shops mentality. But yes, for twofold, customers, I think we're collaborating more with our customers, and they see the criticality and the importance of the data coming through, and that's really important to make digital decisions. So we are directly accessing more of that information with our customers directly to feed into our systems. So we don't have to go manual, don't have to search, can be much more reactive and can actually look ahead. So we don't have to wait till the engines come off, we can predict them on wing. So that's really important. And then with our airframers, likewise, we've got Boeing there, we've got Airbus. I think we're collaborating more than ever in the services side, actually. You know, previously OE and delivering products, but now actually in the whole aftermarket, how we basically delivering product improvements in the fleet and certifying them with the support of our airframers to bring in rapid solutions and enhance time on wing. And also in terms of the aftermarket, how do we integrate solutions in there to get them back to our customers at pace? So I think there's a much stronger interest in the whole life cycle now going forward, and how do we best grow and support our customers, which is great.
Just conscious of time, so one last quick one for everyone. What does the maintenance picture look like in 5 years from now? Have we solved all the problems?
I see lots of opportunities. That's the way I see it, because, you know, for some years, the maintenance, sometimes you say, hey, I don't know if that's a good business or not, in a term of when you look at it in a business point of view. So to me, lots of opportunities. There's a big demand, a big need, and also a big need for being more efficient in all the way. So to me, all those challenges that we are facing in the industry, it's pushing for more efficiency on that. So I'm sure that we'll have a much more efficient maintenance in the future, and much more possibilities also. So I see in a positive way.
2 words and then I expand, but I see growth and resilience. Those are the two. We're going to keep on growing at pace. So when I look at that, you know, I look at just the next 18 months. I think, you know, we've got Air France KLM going to be supporting engines this year for our partnership. We've got Basel coming online in China that's going to be operational in 2026. We've got Turkish Technique in terms of a partnership coming on in 2027. It's growing at pace, and the investment we're putting down there is a record investment to grow that capacity. At the same time, that's got to be there to build a resilient network. So we've got to have the resilience through the supply chain and the MRO to deliver that.
Stefan?
It's a bit of the same. I see a number of the investment 1 billion I was talking about at the beginning. So that means the new major MRO hub under construction, one in India, one in Mexico, one in Morocco, to name just a few. And so I'll see them at pace, at scale, with state-of-the-art and improved facilities. And also, we will have engine at a good stage of maturity. For LEAP-1A, for instance, we have introduced the maturity kit and the new turbine airfoil end of last year, and it's coming for Boeing very soon. So we will have the time on wing we target. So that means that we will be with more capacity and at the target in terms of maturity, so in an area where we can really optimize the efficiency to serve our customers even better.
And by last but no means least?
I would say people, processes, and tools. So the people challenge is there. You know, there's a forecast for 700,000 plus technicians that are required over the next 20 years. So we got to go solve that. The processes, we're going to make those more robust. And then the technology insertion that we've all talked about is going to be critical in addition to the supply chain resiliency. So I am not sure all the problems will be solved in 5 years, but what I would say is I'm optimistic that we're all getting behind this in a collaborative way. So the future is bright for sure. No shortage of opportunity.
Excellent. On that note, we'll end it. So thank you for your attention.